hello, all our friends out there. It is Don, your friendly laser consumables friend, joining you once again from Trotec here in Ontario, Canada. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about our consumables first and foremost. These are always some of my favorite live streams to do. I have a fantastic set of panelists here with me, so I won't talk for too long. I want to let these guys introduce themselves. But, you know, if you're popping in, if this is the first time you're watching or you're a repeat viewer, we always love to see, you know, where you're from in the chat or any questions you have in the chat. Please don't hesitate to drop them in there in Italian or in English or in French. We're pretty much all set to go. Exactly. There you go. See, we're very open to a lot of different kinds of questions here. But as I said, any hello, let us know where you're from. Let us know where you are tuning in from. We basically have the gamut of experts on the laser side, on the consumable side, all that stuff with you here today. So when we've got Lev on the back end helping us out, so any questions that we can't get to, he'll be sure to help you out with. So why don't we start with the introductions? Why don't we start with the gentleman below me here that you're probably all familiar with. First and foremost, Mr. Mike Clark. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself for anybody who's never seen your face before?
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot, obviously.
There's a lot. Hi, I'm Mike Clark. I've been in the laser engraving industry since 1992. I've been in the awards industry since 1970, where I started out with a pantograph. My parents had me downstairs watching a hockey game and basically tracing out letters and making plates. I started selling CNC engravers in the later 80s, and then lasers came along in 92. And I've basically been living and breathing lasers for the last almost 30 years. So I write articles for our trade magazine, Engravers Journal. I have my own YouTube channel, and I have my own blog website. So sell lots of machines and try to help everybody out. So
100%. Again, as I said, if you guys have any laser question, well, and obviously materials question as well, but you know, lasers first and foremost, Mike is the person I always turn to, as he will very quickly remind me if I'm getting on to my third or fourth or fifth question. I'm asking him that day. Just across from me, down in the bottom corner, we have Pierpaolo. Pierpaolo, I know you. I mean, you very, very like helpfully written your title in the in the description bar at the bottom. But
very long, yes.
Yeah, and deserve it, I think, from what I've heard. Can you tell us a little bit about your time with Trotec, what you do with Trotec? You know, what you like about your job.
Okay, so I'm Pierpaolo Barzago. I'm the consumables manager for the Italian subsidiary of Trotec Laser. We, as a subsidiary, were born in 2014. We established the office in 2014. The consumables unit was born in 2016. So it's just about little few more than 4 years that it's open. I'm the consumables manager. I do, let's say, nearly a little bit of everything because for now our warehouse is in Austria, where our headquarters are. So let's say I manage the unit from Italy, serving myself with the warehouse in Austria. So let's say the service is quite fast. So there's no big problems because we are very near to Austria. So no customers have complaints for our shipments and everything. So we are very close to my friend up here, Michele. We are just 10 kilometers away from Madreperla that will come after me. So I welcome you to this panel, and I hope you have questions that will be responded in a fulfilling way. Okay, thank you very much.
100%. And I should say, I mean, we're so spoiled. I'm going to try and talk as little as possible so I can hear as much of Michele and Pierpaolo's fantastic accent as I can hopefully get into but you know, I can't create a better segue than that. Michele, well, listen, I'm not going to say where Michele works. Michele, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, where you're from?
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where are you located in the world. For us, it's good afternoon. Michele Cattaneo, coming from Madreperla, sales manager in Madreperla, since some years, coming from a lot of experience in different plastic materials, starting from polycarbonate. And in 1992, more or less like my friend Mike there.
We're the same age, probably.
So after a lot of years in the polycarbonate, now my business is in the acrylic, is the very and wonderful world of the cast acrylic. So we will have time after to discuss about the possibility of the different use of the cast and extruded, the small difference or the important difference that there are between the two different acrylics. And nothing, I'm in charge to understand and to try to work all over the world. I speak also Spanish, so if there is someone in this webinar that is able to speak Spanish, they will be welcome. So there are no problem on this, and nothing more. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to speak with customer and potential customer of Trotec to explain our material and to explain our products.
100%, and we're very lucky.
This is the new web that we launched last Friday. So it's very nice. A lot of people now are. We are doing a kind of a game inside to have more people watching our new website, where there are a lot of specialties, a lot of informing, a lot of different information about the possibility of the use of this material.
I have to say, so we will, I mean, we're so fortunate because Michele has put together a presentation for us that we'll show you in a few minutes here, sort of explaining, well, all about Madreperla if you're not familiar with them. But I have to say, first and foremost, how lucky we are to have the three of you guys here with me today. I think one of the big things, and maybe this is just me personally, but I'm sure Mike kind of feels a similar thing, that when I first got into lasers, so I've only been with Trotec, it'll be coming up on 2 years in December, but acrylics was always my go-to. Obviously, the laser works with all sorts of different materials, but when I think of lasers, I think of getting to come to Trotec for the first time and seeing this beautiful, huge wall of just color, just huge blocks of bright colors, and thinking about all the cool things that, yeah, your website does a fantastic job here of demonstrating that. It seems like the most basic form of material because it's just a, sort of a square of bright colored plastic, but then at the same time, or pardon me, acrylic, but at the same time, what you can do with it then is only limited by, your imagination. I mean, in coming to Trotec, I thought, like, what a beautiful thing. I can't wait to think of, what I could do with it. And then the amount of creativity that I've seen people put into acrylic projects over the last 2 years has been unbelievable. Do you guys have, I mean, I have to ask, maybe this is a tough question, we can come back to it, but do you have a particular sort of acrylic project or acrylic like use of those Madreperla materials that jumps to mind as a memorable one?
Well, Dan, you have done, the limit is the fantasy. The limit, there are no limits on the use of the acrylic. And this is the reason why we asking to our customer if they wanted to send us a photo. Sometimes they are really jealous of their jobs, so they don't want to share information. Sure. But by the way, I have seen in Trotec Mexico, I have seen 2 years ago, really wonderful photos of wonderful job done by there. And believe me, it's probably the best expo that I have seen in my life with the acrylic. So believe me,
they have a great marketing department there, Michele.
Yeah, they have done a wonderful, really a wonderful job.
Pier Paolo and I will both just plug our ears, and you guys, yeah, there goes Mike. I think Lev is going to try and find some of it, but I agree with you. I think the Trotec Mexico office was such a unique. Pier Paolo, I don't know if you got to see this.
That was amazing stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Sure.
I think this
I've never seen it live, but I saw pictures and the videos, and I saw it. It's really, really, really fantastic. You have an impact when you go in that you say, "Wow, you can do all these things with the materials." And I think, well, I don't know if Lev is showing it, so it's really cool.
100%. I mean, Mike, you've been working with acrylic. Like you said, basically for your entire, professional lasering career, and even prior to working with it on lasers. I'm curious about, what does acrylic on the laser, like, how does it differ from when you're working with it on a CNC machine or when you're working with it on, another piece of equipment? Is there any real, like, palpable difference? What does the laser give you that, is special, or what can the laser do with the acrylic that's special?
Well, I think probably the most common reason that people want to go to a laser machine versus a CNC is certainly detail. That they can do with the laser machine in terms of the amount of smallness that they can do, because a tool is only going to offer you a certain fineness that you can do, where the laser machine allows you to do finer detail. Flame polishing is certainly, something that, a lot of people, like about the laser machine, where, the CNC is going to give you a bit of a clouded edge. And then, the laser machine, when it cuts out, is going to give you the finished edge, the nice clear glass finish that you would normally get. Certainly the ability to not have to clamp things down is certainly something that a lot of people like. And that's where I've said this in previous seminars, is what I'm seeing now is a lot of CNC people that have the CNC equipment that are coming to look at the laser machine, because those are the typical shortcomings that they get with the CNC, and the laser machine helps solve that. And certainly, both machines, have their strong points and their weak points, but certainly what I see the laser machine is in that fine detail, in that flame polished edge, and in that ease of use. So
that's 100%. Yeah. It's they're very much, we always think of them as complementary. Is that fair to say, that they are sort of complementary? They each do something that the other one perhaps can't replicate, but that they each have their sort of place. I was hoping, like this video is a great example of that, this is a piece that we did here in Canada, for example, but it is, just one of those examples of that sort of small, very, very micro level of detail that you were talking about, that you can get with a laser, that the laser does so well.
The problem with the CNC, just one thing,
please.
The other thing with the CNC machine, I know, because I've sold the CNCs, is that the technical knowledge that the customer needs on a laser is far less than what they would need on a CNC machine. A CNC machine, you need to understand tools, you need to understand feed rates, you need to understand spindle speeds and things like that. You need to understand offsets. You need to understand the fact that your corners aren't going to be 90 degrees. A lot of times they're going to be rounded. So again, laser machine a lot of times gives you the ability to not have to think about a lot of the designs that you're generating, where a CNC does. And that, is good for a lot of people that are not into, they don't want to spend a lot of time learning about having to learn about a piece of equipment and things like that. So
100%.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a wonderful comment here from Danny, but I believe it's in Spanish, and so I'm a little bit, I have to pop it up, but at the same time I have to just sort of turn to Michele and say, is this nice?
Bienvenidos a todos los españoles.
Also, we just posted, we had a question in the chat about the Madreperla website, so we've posted it here in the chat as well. Definitely don't hesitate to check it out. It is a beautiful website, and is, just about breaking news if it was just launched on Friday, right?
Yes, last Friday.
With that in mind, if it's all right with you, perhaps what we'll do is I will hop over to the presentation that you prepared for us, if that's okay.
Yes. It's a very short presentation to introduce Madreperla. For a lot of people, they don't know the company. We know we are Italians, so for sure. And everybody can understand that we are Italians. Madreperla SPA. Once again, I'm the sales manager of this wonderful Italian company. And we start the operation in the year 1950, more or less, in Milan, where we are located also now. In that moment, our plant was completely out of the city. Now is a part of the city. So we have the highway at 25 meters from us. So it's a very nice and logistic solution. But when we started 70 years ago, there were nothing here. It's only poor countryside. So now we are in the middle of the city. And we started with the production of buttons in acrylic. And during the big explosion, the wonderful moment of the economy in Europe, we changed from the production of buttons that now are produced completely in China. And we started to produce acrylic sheets, always cast acrylic sheets, nothing with extrusion. And after that, we starting with our production. For sure, the difference between the year, say, 60 and today is completely different. Production is completely changed the production. Now everything is automatic, so everything is industrial. And we are one of the most important producer in Europe and of the material. So everybody knows, everybody here in Europe knows, also someone in South Africa, because we are part of this business also in South Africa. We are working in the US, in Canada. We have a small distributor. So we are trying to be part of the big business of the acrylic all over the Europe and the world. And after the industrial boom, we started with our production, as I told. Who changed the page? Okay.
Yeah,
This is what we offer is, as you can see, cast acrylic. We know perfectly the extrusion. What we are producing is the wool range of cast, so means glossy material, so doesn't mean without the two-side glossy, one side matte and one side glossy, that is called the polar light in our portfolio, and the two-side matte that are the satin glass family. These material are normally used for POP, for LED, for sign, for LED lighting, protection, for also for lighting, for and we have done for the display for the POP in general. We develop also a treatment to the protection against the chemical aggression. So it's something that we are very proud of this version. We are also proud to our 100% recycled material. This is one of our news in the market. We launched this material in 2012, more or less. And now we are having a very good result also after the COVID-19. This is important. In Madreperla, one of our characteristics is that we are able to produce customized product, customized treatment, and customized families. So in this case, for example, we are starting from the RAL or Pantone colors, or from a color match of one of our competitor, or also of other materials, and we are able to replicate in some days the color, exactly the same color, and we are giving the possibility for a European customer in that case in 1 month to have the material starting from the first date till the production date. Normally, this is something that is very interesting in a market that is the speed is one of the possibility to take the order. So if you are fast, you have the order. For sure, during the COVID-19, we changed a little bit our attitude. We produce only clear. And now we are coming back with our normal production. Now we are working for sure 100% of the week. And we are starting now again to produce color and satin glass and all the other specialties.
Very exciting.
One important thing is the difference between cast acrylic and extruded acrylic. The big difference is coming from the process of the production process. Cast acrylic, the starting point is a liquid. Is a liquid that we stock here, or in the case of green cast, we produce here. We stock, and this material is going in the production and is cast between two glasses, together with other components, ingredients like a cake. And this cake we put in the oven. In this oven we prepare the material. So the polarization starting in the oven, And depending on thickness and depending of the color, depending of a lot of different characteristic, we have between 6 hours and 24 hours the material ready to be prepared and to be put in the masking and sent to the warehouse. So in the case of the extrusion, it's a little bit different. The material, the starting point is a gray material that is melt in a special machine with an extrusion that send this product between a die and send to two rolls with a calandra, is called, and the calandra give the different thickness, and the result is a clear material or colored material. One information that is important, and this is the next slide, there are a little bit of difference between the two products. So cast acrylic, one of the advantage of the cast is the capacity, the possibility to have a new color or different colors with a reduced quantity of order. You can see on the other slide. If you can change the slide, is
yes. Go to the next slide. Yeah.
The famous minimum order quantity or the minimum quantity that are request for the colors. It's important because when you are working with a designer or when you are working with a luxury company that are asking for small quantities with strange color, you can produce, believe me, 600, 700 kilos of production is something that is normal for the trial order or for the production of special colors. So it's very easy. And if you think in extrusion, normally you need to produce between 3 and 4 tons, depending on who is the producer and which is the capacity to prepare the material. And it's a little bit less plastic than the extruded. There are, for sure, a lot of possibility. You can really, when you say the fantasy is the limit, is the reality, because we are receiving normally inquiry from people that asking me, I would like to have the same pink gold of the back of the iPhone 6. And they say, oh, sorry. This is really, sometimes there are people asking strange colors because they say, I would like to have a lavender, but it's not lavender. It's more similar to a violet, but with a pink point. So, believe me, sometimes our people in the laboratory becoming crazy to try to find a solution. But normally we are able to do this. And one important difference with the extrusion that the quality of the extrusion, that they have a wonderful thickness control. So they can, for example, so everything in the thickness is one of the big difference between cast and extruded. So cast, the thickness tolerance is one of the problem. Instead, in the acrylic, in the extruded acrylic, the thickness is one of the quality, of the positive quality. This is due to the process, the difference of the production, because in the extrusion, as I told you, the material is passing between 2 rolls, and the rolls giving exactly the quantities, the thickness, sorry. In the cast, the thickness is coming from the polymerization in the over between 2 glasses. And normally there are mistakes on the glasses, and this creates the mistake also in the sheets. For sure, Madreperla is working in the ISO certification. This is the ISO certification control. One of the points that is controlling is also the thickness tolerances. So we are there are tolerances that very interesting, but for sure there are available, and we are working, try to be better than the tolerance that the ISO accept. Coming back from on the other point, I think that why asking Madreperla? As I told before, we are an industrial company, but for sure not so big like the other international and multinational producer all over the world. So this permits us to be fast, to be available always, to try also to be very proactive with the customer. Sometimes the customer, as I told before, asking for real strange color, but we normally try to give them all the support and also all the possibility to have to solve the problems. And this is one of our capacity. And well, sustainability and circularity, we are working on this. As Greencast is part of our process of sustainability. We produce internally our monomer coming from the scrap, coming from the material of the end of the life, coming off the display that are coming back from our customer. For sure, not directly, because we cannot, due to the European law, we cannot accept the material. We need so we cannot accept all the material. We need to. We can only accept the scraps coming from a regrinder company that all over Europe collect our material and after send it to us again. And we start again the process of production of the liquid, of the monomer, and we arrive again to the sheet. So it's a very circular economy. There are important customers all over the world that they have organized their circular economy. So they buy material from us, producing display, selling the display on the market, and after take back the display, produce grain material and send it to us. And we start again with this circularity. This is agreement that we done every year. And we have seen in the last 2 years the increase of our capacity and the increase of the perception of the sustainability from our customer and also from the market. This is the reason why Greencast is very well known all over. And very, very short, but it is important, I think, for everybody to understand who we are and why cast is our choice and why we are so strong with this material.
I agree. That's fantastic. I didn't realize that you had that incredible the circulation of material out and then like used. If I'm understanding it correctly, so it's reground and brought back to you to be recycled again to make new material.
So this process started in 2012. 2012, we started, and everybody told us that we were crazy because there were no idea to use this material. No. Because one of the big problem is understand that if we are able to recycle acrylic to produce cast, we can recycle and to have 100% recycled material without any problem. In extrusion, you cannot do this because if you can work with a part of extruded, a part of recycling, but you need a part of virgin. Otherwise, you have a lot of black spot, a lot of other problems on the surface. So it's completely different because it's a mechanical process. In our case, it's an industrial process. It's called the depolymerization, and everybody can see in Wikipedia what does it mean depolymerization. It's a nonsense that I explain now because we can lose the time. And no, believe me, it's an old process. Everybody knows this process in the chemical company. So we are not discovered nothing. We are only try to be a little bit more green and try to defend also our business for the future, because for sure also our world, because we know perfectly that we cannot save the world, but for sure we can help to reduce a little bit the contamination, to reduce a little bit the pollution, and we normally invite always our important customer. Trotec have been invited a lot of time to visit us. For sure, not from Canada, but if someone
time, if you like,
Paulo knows perfectly where we are.
I am the most comfortable to go. Yes, go and
but
visit.
for sure, but believe me.
But what you need to understand is the reason that we do these seminars is because we're getting this cachet of people around the world, and then when Lev goes to travel, he can go to Italy, he can go to Spain.
Yeah, that's right.
So all these people it's great. It's perfect.
We are a big tourist campaign. We invited a lot of people here in Italy to move the tourism.
We'd love to go. Yes. Yes.
If you wake up to Lev sleeping in your warehouse, don't be surprised. I was gonna say, I was curious, Pierpaolo, if this is something that you've seen in Italy as well. I know on my part here in Canada, we have more and more customers asking about recyclable, laserable materials. So, you know, how to reuse their materials. I mean, part of it can be how to get the most out of their materials, but you know, more and more, at least in Canada, I'm seeing a lot of people asking about that sort of cyclical, you know, how to recycle laser materials. Is that something you're seeing in Italy as well?
Yeah, sure. We got a lot of customers. We have a strict policy now for recycling, so you must put, you know, everything in its place on the waste side. So there are good collection for now. I tell you the truth, especially in north of Italy. So people are very, let's say, strict on this. And we are trying to you know, to send the correct materials to the correct recycling points. And I think Michele could testify this. It's growing every year, and we have a percentage of recycled materials growing every year. I just wanted to answer quickly to JC Production. I see. What's the difference between the Chinese acrylic and the European acrylic?
Please go for it.
It's very tricky. So I think Michele is too part of it, so he can't answer for this. I will answer for him. Anyway, the difference is that in European acrylic, you know what's inside.
Yes.
In the Chinese acrylic, you never know what's inside. So
yeah,
so when you burn it on a laser, the European, you can. I don't say you can smell it, but at least you can smell it, and nothing will happen. In the Chinese acrylic, I would say it's better not to smell it. So, and well, of course, apart this joke, difference is really on the quality of the monomer inside, and you can see, especially if you put it in sideways. For Madreperla and also for other big producer, it's really clear. With the Chinese, sometimes it's green inside, so that's the real difference. And of course, when you work it and when you expose it, you can see the result at the end of the day. So it's tricky. Of course, it's cheaper, and of course, I know people. Most of the people work because of the customer asks for price. They work on price. But at the end of the day, if you want a quality product, you must start with a quality product at the beginning of the production line. So that's it.
100%. And this, so Lev added this in the chat there, but I just wanted to touch on something really important that I thought you said, which is if you're ever not sure if a material is laser safe, get the MSDS sheet. So as Paulo said, sometimes because of price, whatever it might be, you might be forced to use a material that's not from Trotec. Like obviously we understand, right? But at the end of the day, if you're ever using something that is from Trotec, you can always ask us if this is laser safe, how best to process it, that sort of thing. But if not, always get that MSDS sheet. The person who's supplying your acrylic should be able to supply it to you. If they can't, maybe take that into consideration.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, it's the strangest things, but you know, Mike, you and I have talked about this before. It's the number of materials that you would think would be totally fine, but may perhaps not be, is actually longer than you would maybe expect. I know, like leather, for example, is one that, you know, you have to be so careful, you know, about the little nuances of what types of leathers and things you get. So, you know, what's your advice to people when they come in and ask you about the laser safety of a material when they come in for a demonstration? Is it that MSDS sheet, or is it, you know, are there things you can do?
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, the MSDS sheet is going to solve a lot of issues, because if you get an MSDS sheet, then you know what's in the material. And if somebody can't give you an MSDS sheet, then you know you probably don't want to know what's in that material and you don't want to use it, right? And, you know, I mean, I can remember, you know, I've been selling Lamecoid material for and using it since, you know, the mid 70s. So, I mean, I remember when we got a shipment from offshore for some Lamecoid material, and oh, is it ever bad? I mean, like it, you know, and you know, going through the years, you know, it's amazing how sometimes a manufacturer will turn around and come out with something that is cheaper, and it really is cheaper. Because it's just something that you can't use properly, doesn't machine properly, or doesn't laser properly, or whatever. And in a lot of situations, you know, the smoke that's coming off there is maybe not good for you either, right? So that's always very, very important that you do see the MSDS sheets on this typical material. So.
This is a great question that we have here from Zaid, and thank you so much, Zaid, for watching. He is a frequent viewer of our live streams, and we appreciate it so much. Is there a cement or acrylic adhesive available that is clear and does not affect, so like melting or damaging, a clear acrylic workpiece? This is one I've heard a few times. I know there are a few sort of acrylic glues or different things that you can use. Any suggestions that you guys could offer would be very much appreciated, even on my part, because I feel like I've recommended all kinds of different things. Pier Paolo, I don't know if you have
well, I really don't. Let's say the double components, usually the glues with the double components are the ones that most suit the acrylic, because they don't crack it. The problem is that most of the time, if you use the normal, we call it Super Attack. I don't know if it's the same brand in the other countries, and
I hope so, because it sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a product from Loctite, so it's most of the people use that, but at the end of the day, it cracks the acrylic, because the components inside are they create some tension, and the tension makes little bubbles, and then at the end of the day, especially when exposed to light, I think, Michele, to UV light.
Yeah. One comment from my side about the glue. The glue is very important. So, but it's also important to understand exactly which kind of material you want gluing. Because if you want to gluing, for example, cast, you need to look for glue for cast. You cannot use glue for extruded. Because if you are using not the right glue, because we think gluing like the glue, the attack of Loctite, for example, but in reality, in the extrusion, the glue is create a fusion between the two parts. It's not a real gluing. And what's happened? Sometimes happen. You can see very easily that if the glue is not the right glue, you can open the two pieces without any strong energy. So what's important is to find the right glue. Otherwise, you have a problem always, and not depending of the material, depending of the not right use of the glue. This doesn't mean that the glue is not good, because probably you are using the wonderful glue for cast, but you are gluing extruded, and this is the result that you have a problem. So sometimes the problem is only to understand which is the job that you need to do, and which material you want to gluing, because we have seen wonderful gluing, for example, polycarbonate and acrylic without any problem. And sometimes the material is broken very easy, because this is not the right glue. And so if you study well the product, you need also to study well the right glue.
That makes sense. And it goes back to our sort of discussion about knowing exactly the material that you're using, because even if there's nothing hazardous about it, I mean, knowing that there's different glues that you would want to use even for different, cast and extruded acrylics, that just comes right back around to one thing I did want to quickly mention. I like this question from Jazer a lot. I want to get to it, but one thing I wanted to quickly mention too, as an aside, is, and we'll see this, I think, in an example I'm going to show in a little bit here, but one thing you can do with a really super high quality acrylic is heat bending. Also, don't forget that if you're looking to create like a three-dimensional shape, you can use a heat bent shape using like a heat bar or something. I think Lev might be able to show it for us. No pressure, Lev. But it's a way of sort of manipulating the acrylic. It takes a little bit of practice, but it creates a really cool sort of one-of-a-kind effect and doesn't require any glue at all. So it's something that, is kind of unique to acrylic, in as much as you can't really do it, in, here you go. So Oh my gosh. So you'll never guess how many days of quarantine that beard represented. Yes, using the heat bar that I'm showing there at the bottom of the screen, this right here, where it's as simple as laying the acrylic strip across the bar, waiting for it to heat up sufficiently, and then just applying like an even pressure across it, and you can create a beautiful sort of three-dimensional sign, just as simply as that. Obviously, we again would recommend using the official strip heater, not like any old heated element you have around your house. But again, as Pierpaolo said, if you want something quality, you have to start with something quality, I'm afraid. But yeah, it's one of these amazing things that only kind of acrylic can do. Speaking to that, I know we have customers in Canada who do this exact application, and wanted to ask Michele about the acrylics being food safe. So are they safe for use with food products?
Well, about the food safe or the food certification or the food FDA, so there are a lot of different ways to call the certification for the food and the contact between acrylic and food. We know that every country, but more or less Europe and the US, they have two different ways to measure this compatibility between food and acrylic. We know it is more or less common all over the world that acrylic has not problem with the normal food, with the normal liquid, except for the dairy product and for the liquid with a lot of alcohol inside. This can create some problem to the contact. They can release some not good material. In Europe, we changed the regulation 2 years ago, and we are really still trying to find the right solution. So we are now in charge of the one company outside of Madreperla to find and to organize the right certification for the food contact, because we have customers all over Europe that asking for this. In the past, there were special monomer made to produce special sheets. Now they are giving the responsibility of the food contact not only to the producer of the sheets, but also of the place where we stocked, but also where our customers stock the sheets. So there are a lot of steps, and at the end of the day, the responsibility, the final responsibility, is in the end of who sell the material to the market. And this is not the right, but is in some cases, yes. So what I can say that if you are working with, for example, cake, there are no problems. But if you are working with cheese, you need to think about. If you are creating the bottle for milk, it's better if you are using glass. So depending, believe me, once again, before to use, it's important to understand which is the application, which is the idea, which is the material that you need to put inside. And after that, we are, as I told, we are working to have this certification for the end of the year. We have done all the tests, and the tests are confirmed that there are no problems, but we needed to have this piece of paper, because with this piece of paper we can show to the market that we have the food agreement and the food compatibility with our acrylic. Also for our green cast, the same. There are no difference between one and another. And what is important, remember that during the COVID-19, we changed a little bit the item, but during the COVID-19 we had some, not only Madreperla, but everybody in Europe had a lot of problem with the availability of the material. Now this problem is solved, completely solved. So there are no shortage of material. There is no problems to have material in the normal way, so in the normal time also.
That was certainly something I wanted to ask you about. I know we had some material shortages during COVID, and we are. I saw some questions about that sort of scrolling by on the side. That is something that we're working to rectify. But I wonder if Pierpaolo or Mike, I wonder if you guys could sort of explain to me a little bit of what caused that. That boom. Certainly, I know it's the PPE shields and the sort of shields that are being used at checkout counters and that sort of thing. But then also, what caused that sort of lack and how soon might we expect to see that material again?
I just wanted to follow. Sorry, Mike. I just wanted to follow a small the question before about the food safe products because there's I see every country has a law for laser processing, also the laser the food safe material. So in Italy, as I think 99% of the Italian laws are not clear. And you don't know, or at least you never know, if you can process the material with a laser, because the laser, of course, gives heat, and the heat is a process of sort of carbonification, so it makes carbon particles, and of course, they're not safe for your health. But if you clean, excess clean the product, then it can be used as a food material. So I think everybody in this that is asking the question must check in their own country how the law is, because as far as for now in Italy, you can make cake toppers, but let's say they're not 100% against the law, but they're not even with the law. So
I don't want to live in
as usual. We are living in the confusion world.
Yeah, it's a confusion world, as Michele said. In Italy, it's a confusion world. Probably in other parts of the world, it's less confusing. But of course, when you get a steak on a barbecue, it creates carbon. So you eat carbon, and that's nearly the same thing. Of course, it's carbon made by a steak and not made by acrylic. But you can't clean the steak while you can clean the acrylic when you use it. So I think there's a lot of difference. But for now, we are still, in we say in the ocean. We don't know where to go. So I have a lot of customers who make cake toppers, and they're not in prison for now. So
the only thing that is 100% sure that the dairy product and alcohol create problems. All the others depend of the content, depend of the use, but dairy products, so cheese, milk, is better don't use with acrylic.
On the plus
sorry, Mike, I go back to you.
Yeah, forgive me. I was just going to say, if you are in Italy and wondering about cake toppers, on the plus side, at least you do have an Italian cake. So you have one big positive spot. But yeah, Mike, I wonder if you'd be able to speak to some of that boom on the cast acrylic. Certainly, maybe that's a tough question, but I know, just for anyone who's asking, I know
probably Michele would be better to talk to about that. He understands. Yeah.
I mean, here in Canada, very specifically, we are working to try and get those cast materials back in stock, and we will hopefully have them as soon as possible. But rest assured that if you're signed up for our newsletters or for our mail outs, we will send out an e-blast to everyone once those materials are back in stock. And we still have a lot of great, cast material from Madreperla in stock and available. As Michele said earlier, they've been working to get us the colored gloss materials back in stock and that sort of thing. And those are fantastic materials. But Michele, would you be able to just even briefly touch on sort of what the cause for that that sort of brief lack of acrylics worldwide was? Because I know that was something that a lot of people were feeling. Obviously, it's not limited to Madreperla by any means, but I'm curious if you could shed any light on that at all for us.
Sorry, I lost the question because there were the phone. You can repeat me?
Yeah, I was just saying, during COVID, there was sort of that lack of the clear acrylics in particular were really tough to find. Was there a reason why that particular type of acrylic was so in demand and also was so tough to find there for a little while? Was it raw materials were sort of disappearing or?
No. The request due to the COVID-19. So you can imagine that I was here sitting in my office in March, and we started to receive every day the normal order that was for 1 week. So we started to having a lot of requests only of clear material. And only to give an idea, to be able to give 190 different colors, our plant is structured to have a lot of mixer with a lot of colors that go inside, and we prepare the mix once again like an Italian cake. But what's happened? when we start to have only request of clear, we have been forced to change completely internally procedure and also internally production. So this create a lot of confusion, not inside, but in the meaning of the production. So the problem was we receive order for example, 2,000 sheets in 3 millimeters. Normally, our production works in. It's important for us to have the right quantity of 3 millimeter, the right quantity of 4 millimeter, of 5 millimeter, because as told during my presentation, the polymerization happens in the oven, and the oven have different time depending of the thickness. If we are not able to create the right circulation also in the ovens, we are not able to have the production, the real production of the material. So we have been forced to reorganize internally the process of production. We had one shift more in the production to be able to give more material to the market. And believe me, it's not easy to find an agreement during the COVID-19, to find agreement with the unions, to ask to more people. Believe me, it's a kind of it's very difficult. But we have done this also. Now we work 6 days for week. We are on one of the 10 and 15 company in Milan that increase the people, the employees, and also the workers in the plant. So it's something completely different. But believe me, it's been very terrible situation for us, because our business normally is 60% color and 40% clear. So reorganize everything inside to produce 99.9% of clear has been completely different. Now we are very happy, not only for the COVID-19 that is more or less at the end, but also because we are coming back to produce colors. So this means that the world is coming back to a normal life, that everything is trying to coming back to our life. That is, for us, it's really important, not only for us, Madreperla, but for everybody here. And believe me, now the quantity, once again, the monomer is available. There are no problems on the virgin monomer, like there are no problems on the recycled monomer. There will be probably discussion in the future for the price increase due to the possibility that the automotive business, that normally is the most important customer of the producer of monomer, at the moment they are stopped, or more or less stopped. So when they will come back to with a normal production, there will be probably some problem in prices, but not in availability, because there are a lot of new plants producing 1,000 tons of acrylic of monomer every year. So there are, believe me, no problems. So now it's only for us, the problem is now is to spend the time to recover our warehouse, to be able to give the material to our customer in the 3 weeks, as for us is one of the point that we discuss always with the customer. But if during the COVID, the possibility to have material was 3 months, now we are 1 month and more or less 1 month. So we are coming back to the normality.
We appreciate it. I know we have Pierpaolo just up the street from you to go over and bang on the door and keep you guys working 6 days.
I bring the coffee to them so they can work even at the night.
We have this first priority question that comes from Glenn in Calgary, Alberta. Glenn, thank you so much for submitting your question. I wanted to go around and maybe get a suggestion. Perhaps, Pierpaolo, you could give me, your particular views on this, but a material that works best for edge lighting, or maybe even sort of backlighting, like LED lighting. Where might you steer a customer that's looking for something like that?
Well, edge lighting, of course, I think the clear material with the flame polishing at the edges is the best in town. As we know from Trotec, is one of our, let's say, most sold material from Madreperla, to be able to create designs and also photo engraving on the clear material that will be lighted from the side and will pop out, as we say, when you look at it. As for the LED distribution, I think the white from Madreperla, which is in our portfolio, the LED is is the perfect one, but also the other ones are all efficient. I mean, there's I think, Michele, a little difference between the percentage of light passing, but at the end of the day, the difference, the real difference is not so big. You can use whatever TroGlass color gloss or whatever to
yes. Imagine that we have 11 different standard opal, so standard white, 11. But normally at the end of the year we count the new white that we produce. Normally are always between 20 and 25 new white and new opal that we produce for the edge lighting or for this. But depending, believe me, depending which is the dimension of the light that you of the sheets that you need, and we always study new possibility, and we know the request of the edge lighting every month or every year is growing, because the request now, the LED is always all over is the light that the people are using. So not for signage for sure, but for the internal lighting or for the big space. So this is
or also
future.
for designs, because at least I speak for my customers. I have a lot of customers who makes photo engraving or signage, engraved in a clear sheet. So if you engrave in focus, you can have a wide resolution, and then if you light it from the side, it will pop out and it will look nearly a 3D lighting. So it's very effective, and also it's on the end customer is it's sort of have a wow ending. Everybody goes, wow, is this real? Yes, okay. So it's I think the clear one for edge lighting is the best one. I know, Mike, you have much more experience than me. You can you can add something, because
no, you cut out a few times on me, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I sort of lost you a little bit, and you were talking about engraving, but certainly if you're engraving material, lasering material, then you certainly want to use the cast material as opposed to the extruded. And the other thing and again, on the engraving, especially if you're lighting it, I typically like to use the least amount of power I get away with on when I'm engraving something, because anytime you start really going deep into acrylic, it starts to powder, you get lines and everything like that. I tend to find just is the best. So, and if you're backlighting, that's typically what I find the best. So, and certainly the clear is the best one, but the LED material is certainly nice too. So.
And do you agree with me that also the flame edge is perfect for edge lighting?
Oh yeah, the flame edge. Yeah, the flame edge is really what you need to have. Yeah, you have to have a flame edge. Yeah,
because distribution.
Because you want that transmission of the light all the way through, right? So
yeah. Okay.
Mike, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, Pierpaolo was talking sort of to a technique where if you're engraving, particular acrylics in focus, you're going to get a white result, and if you're engraving them out of focus, you're going to get that clear result. Would you be able to sort of speak to that technique a little bit about how you would maybe approach, doing a project where you were looking for the right settings to get either of those kind of things in a final engraving?
Well, if you're in focus, you're going to get a white finish. Right. And then if you're going to go out of focus, then it's going to go clear, where you almost kind of like melt the material and it doesn't really separate, because the powder, and Michele can probably answer this too. When you etch acrylic, you separate the acrylic, right? You get the powder and you get a bit of a flammable liquid, and it's the powder that sits there. So when you melt it, you really don't have that same change. So and we do the same thing with the engraving the Lamecoid plastic, to try to eliminate some of the white dust in the background. And we do that by going out of focus. So you end up melting the material as opposed to separating the material. And the amount that I normally, it depends what I'm doing, but I'm normally 90 thou, 100 thou out of focus, even more sometimes a little bit. But again, that sort of typically can be done. I mean, most people want the white finish, but some people do, they do like that clear look to the acrylic, because then it looks kind of like it's cast as one piece or whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
So.
I had one more priority question here I wanted to throw at you guys. I'm not sure if I've got it here on the screen. Yes, power and speed settings for TroGlass materials. So obviously, as Mike is sort of speaking to here, some of that is going to be personal preference. Some of that is going to be, what you are looking for, your client is looking for. But I was sort of curious if you guys have typical go-tos or tips and tricks for acrylic processing that you'd be able to share with us. I spend a lot of time with our materials, but I don't necessarily get to do a lot of work on the lasers. Much to Mike's chagrin, of course. So I think if you guys had any tips and tricks when approaching even just typical processing with acrylics, it would be very much appreciated. I don't know if Mike or Prapalo, or if there's any little secrets that you guys could share with us. Michele, of course. I don't know how much you've actually gotten to work with lasers.
I have no secret about the TroGlass material.
We even have there's a question in the chat from Alana asking about a way of getting a black engraving on a clear acrylic. Is there any sort of substrate that you can put on, or maybe an oxidizer that you could use on an acrylic? Is there any sort of special technique, or are you sort of limited to the white or the clear kind of thing when it comes to engraving?
I've only just ever seen the white and the clear. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, unless it's China, maybe if it's offshore, maybe it goes yellow or orange because there's something else in there. But yeah, no, normally it's just clear or white. So yeah, unless you want to paint
black,
color.
right? I never seen black engraved material.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
No,
Maybe
it's engraved with out of focus, so it becomes clear, and then you can pour some color inside.
You can pour some color paint in it if you want.
Yeah, color painting inside. So I think that's the only solution you can find for having a black.
It's easier. It's easier put LED, LED with different colors, so it's easier. It's working with the clear sheets and changing the LED color, so it's easier.
Yeah.
And again, I would potentially look at a reverse material too. You have reverse materials where you can engrave them so that the light will pass through. It'll be a clear, and then you can put a color on the reverse, so whatever color you'd like will show through, and you have kind of a mix of things that you can do with a material like that. We have so many. Okay, here's a great example.
And that's really important if you're doing reverse material, is that you don't want that white powder in the actual engraving, because it's going to affect the transmission of either the painted color or the light coming through. So typically, when I'm doing reverse material, I will do it out of focus, because I do want to melt it, because I want to try to get as a glassy finish as I can when I etch through from the reverse. So when I paint it, if I'm using a red or a blue or whatever, it looks like a red or the blue that I painted. If you've got a powder in there, now it's going to start to obscure the colors to a certain degree. So certainly going out of focus, when you're doing reverse material, for me anyways, is very critical to do that. So, yeah.
We have a ton of questions, but I'm afraid we've passed sort of the 1 hour mark here. I haven't even gotten to the stuff that I prepared ahead. I think we will most definitely have to do another acrylics webinar. But I mean, again, I want to say thank you so much for the three of you guys for joining me today, and everybody at home for tuning in. I know we have some pretty hard deadlines and some pretty hard stop times after these webinars, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not certain what time it is in Italy, but I feel like these gentlemen have probably put in a very long work day already.
6 o'clock,
I have no problem.
No, it's 6 o'clock.
It's
summertime.
Evening, but
no problem.
There's no problem for us. I mean, there's no real problem.
Certainly have to have you back if you would be so kind to join us again in the future here. But I think that will probably do it for today. Again, thank you so much to all the panelists. Thank you so much to you guys watching from home. Don't forget,
stay safe, everybody. Stay safe. Stay safe.
This video will show up in our YouTube channel. So if you have any other questions, leave them there, and we will bring them back. And when these guys come back to join us again, we'll toss them your questions and stuff. So, as Mike says, stay safe, take care, everyone, and
take care.